Chapter 19, Small World. Riel went to Hyunaki's office reminding him that his lawyer was coming today to discuss legalities on policies and bargaining agreements with the union. Hyunaki was taken aback because this matter was taken off his mind when they were in a hurry to fly. Then Louis knocked at the side door of the CEO's office, informing Riel that the Gonzalo law firm was already by the door waiting. Then Louis led the two lawyers to the CEO's office. When the two lawyers were inside, the younger one was surprised because he never expected to meet Mr. Han Hyunki, the foolish husband as he named him, whom he had a brawl with at the resort in Cebu. He was about to say something when he also caught an eye on Riel, the troubled fake pregnant wife of the foolish husband. The three of them were altogether out of words, shocked. Of all people and all places, they were, once again, face to face. The older lawyer, puzzled at how the three looked, introduced his son to Hyunaki. Mr. Han Hyunaki is the CEO of this corporation, and this is my son, Andrew. Speechless at first, then spoke. We've met, Dad. Under ridiculous circumstances with his wife. Correct me if I am wrong, sir. A small world, isn't it? Looking at Riel, she shied her face away, stifling her giggle. Since Riel was standing by Hyunki's side, he could practically feel Rieler's stifled giggle and tried to look serious as he shook hands with Andrew. Yes, Attorney Gonzalo, we already met at a resort, and it was an unusual encounter, to begin with, but we parted in a good way, right Andrew? And yes, it is a small world, indeed, Hyunki said with a Duchenne smile. Yeah, we are good for now, Andrew replied in a raspy voice. Shall we begin now? As we discussed over the phone a few weeks ago, you intend to upgrade some of the company's policies as advised by your legal team. In addition, you want to make some changes to the company union's bargaining agreement because, as you have noted, the agreement was still during your father's time. That will be good for the union and your company, Han Hyunaki, explained attorney Alonzo Gonzalo, who was contented with how Hyunki made his policies beneficial for his employees. Hyunki pointed out that these changes will be done with his legal team and should be worked on in their office so that whatever suggestions may need his decision and approval will be quickly executed. One of the secretaries, Louis, was called to lead the lawyers to the legal office just a floor away from the CEO's office. While they were walking toward the legal office, Attorney Andrew asked Louis how he could get in touch with Riel, giving an excuse that she owed him a favor. Louis, hesitant at first and because of his persistence, gave Rieler's direct telephone line of her office. Later before lunchtime, Andrew made a call to Riel. Hello Riel, Andrew here. Can I invite you for lunch today? Asked Andrew, who was at the end of the line. How did you learn my direct line? Asked Riel, surprised. I had my way to getting to you. Is my offer accepted? Followed Andrew in a hopeful tone. I'm sorry, but I already had a previous offer, Riel answered, somewhat tensed. Maybe during the break, then? You owe me one, remember? I have something to discuss with you, Les. Your foolish boss, Riel laughed, somehow annoyed, and replied, stop calling him foolish. Will you? Then can I have that break with you this afternoon at 3 p.m. down at the cafeteria, hoping positively. Well then, at 3 p.m., Riel agreed to keep him from being stubborn. Meanwhile, after completing all the papers he reviewed and making signatures on others, Hyunki came to Rieler's office to invite her for a break, but Riel could not be found. Much to his dismay, he frowned with furrowed brows, then asked the two girls about Rieler's whereabouts. Somehow terrified from hearing Hyunki's touch voice, she answered, Sir Han, Rieler's down the cafeteria. Attorney Andrew invited her for a break, Louis said, looking worried. And what is his business with Riel? Somehow agitated, he left, going back to his office, pacing back and forth, somehow angered by Rieler's leaving without letting him know. Meanwhile, Riel and Andrew were conversing about the incident at the bar. I was confused about your relationship with Mr. Han. You called him your husband only to find him with another woman, and you also told to us that you're pregnant, but looking at you, especially today, you seem not, Andrew recounted that night. While Riel was so worried about Hyunaki looking for her, Riel laughed amusingly. I was just covering for him, fearing that your fight may end up ugly because I worry about a delayed flight, and I was so eager to go home, she said defensively. I was asking myself then, were you married? If you were married to a womanizer, you could be foolish. I think you're asking too many questions, Attorney Andrew. You're way out of line. Whatever you've seen between Mr. Han Hyunki and me is none of your business anymore. Can we drop this and go on with life? I've already returned your favor, and if you may, I'm leaving. And please, Leave Mr. Han and me alone. Is that understood? She sternly warned him. Wait, please? Don't be angry. Andrew regretted his being a bother. Sorry for my curiosity. I want us to be friends. Could we? I promise I will not bring up this topic again. We'll often see each other because I may be assigned in this company until the legal team and I complete our work. Riel scrutinizes him well, looking for something vague in his guise. And then she welcomes his friendship. Both shook hands and parted ways. Attorney Andrew watched her leave, admiring her simplicity and outspoken personality. Simultaneously at that moment, Hyun-ki was bothered. He jumped off his seat and stood by his table with crossed arms, wearing furrowed brows and pursed lips, when he heard Riel return to her table, waiting for her explanation. Louis felt relieved when Riel returned and pointed at Hyun-ki's room. Riel got the meaning, so she went to see Hyun-ki, who was then moping, feeling dejected. She hugged him tightly to console him and assured him everything was fine. Hyun-ki asked her frankly, "Are we good?" Riel he stood up and held Riel's arms tightly. Riel was bothered by his grip on her. "Are you jealous? Hyun, do you think I'll throw away a relationship for him? You don't trust me, do you?" Frowning at him, Hyun-ki embraced her tightly and whispered, "I don't want to lose you, Riel. No way will I let you." It was 7 p.m. when the two lovers ended up their day. Whilst inside the elevator and alone, Hyun-ki kept her close to him. But when the elevator stopped, Riel forced herself away from him, and Hyun-ki found her amusing. Attorney Andrew, with some lawyers, entered the elevator and simultaneously greeted their CEO and Riel. With a smirked smile, Andrew observed the two and then took advantage of facing and talking to Riel. "Hi. Can I ask you out? Riel, how about having you as my date tomorrow at lunch?" Andrew never cared about Hyun-ki's presence. The lawyers observed Mr. Han, watching his behavior, thinking he might jump on Andrew because of his rude attitude, disrespecting their CEO outright. Riel is careful about her watch of Hyun-ki, which would cause him to be uncomfortable with Andrew's cocky and impolite attitude, so she gently speaks to Andrew. "I still have to check Mr. Han's appointment. If he has no engagement tomorrow, then maybe." She looked at him severely and continued, "Andrew, one of my functions is to be with my boss when he has lunch meetings, so we'll see." Andrew seems to notice Hyun-ki's calm irritation, so he does not stop there, testing Hyun-ki's silence. He was checking on him to see how far he would go and continued his offer to Riel. "Well then, how about dinner?" he insisted. The lawyers were already annoyed, so one of them pressed the elevator button to pull Andrew out, but Hyun-ki pressed the close door button to stop them. Hyun-ki's face was dark and showed his annoyance at Andrew's intimidation. Hyun-ki turned his back, facing the lift's wall, his hands gripping the elevator's rail, and his face was all dark, trying to control himself. Hyun-ki was almost at the peak of his patience and punched the elevator wall, then turned to Andrew, already angry. "Who do you think you are? Huh, because you're a lawyer, you can't say what you want in my face." Hyun-ki was pointing his finger at Andrew, intimidating him. Andrew stared at him, grinning like he was challenging a fight. Riel is already nervous at Hyun-ki's angry reaction and Andrew's angry enjoyment smile and tries to stop them. Hyun-ki just stared at Riel, saying nothing. They were all quiet, Hyun-ki clenching his fists and controlling his anger until they reached the parking area. Each group was going to their cars when Hyun-ki suddenly grabbed Andrew's collar and clutched it tightly, giving him an angry stare. "You're good at intimidating, aren't you? You wanted to challenge me to go physical, are you?" Andrew cut him, and with a strangled tone, he said, "Come on, what are you waiting for? Huh? You could not terrify me with that look." Hyun-ki took off his hands on Andrew's collar. "It was good that you were not an employee here, or else I could have fired you this instant. This company was your client, and if you do not wish to continue working with my legal team to upgrade my company's policies, I am open to accepting your withdrawal." After confronting Andrew, Hyun-ki turned his back to leave. Andrew could not be stopped. He yelled, "Come on, what are you waiting for? Huh? You could not terrify me with threats." Hyun-ki turned to him, pushed him a little, his hand on Andrew's collar, then punched his face. Andrew fell to the ground, wiping his bleeding nose with his hand, got up, took off his shoe, and threw it hard into Hyun-ki, hitting Hyun-ki's back. Hyun-ki faced him and waited for Andrew to come closer. Andrew ran to him to return a blow, but Junie, Hyun-ki's chauffeur, and the other lawyers watching them all along ran between them to stop their fight. Riel was petrified. She never expected that this minor brawl would worsen. She was tormented by Andrew and screamed in anger. "How dare you, Andrew? Stop it. I couldn't take this any longer." She instantly slapped Andrew's face. Andrew was startled, and Hyunaki stepped forward to fend Riel from Andrew's possible reaction to protect her. Andrew touched his reddish face, speechless. Riel showed a flashed face as she was also surprised by her thoughtless reaction but chose to be quiet. Hyunaki turned his back on Andrew, then he spoke to all the witnesses of this incident. He said, "Let this incident stay with us alone. No one should ever bring this to anyone, nor talk about it within your group. As your CEO, I request that you forget all this. We are all professionals, so let us act like one." "Could I count on you?" Everyone agreed, replied with a unified yes, and returned to their cars. Andrew was going overboard, and he kept on pushing his intimidation on Hyunki. Hyunki had lost his patience and got Andrew collared. Will there still be a chance for attorney Andrew and Han Hyunaki to settle their differences?